Hey, this is the second Coriolis blog, and we played. We've had our first session, and it's going really, really well. So I am running a short intro scenario from the core book titled "The Statue of Tsar Bagra," and I've made a couple of minor adjustments. Mainly. Um, Well, for a couple of reasons. One, due to the group concept for this team, they're kind of like guerrilla journalists. Um, Maybe even like kind of like debunkers that you might see online, like ghost debunkers or something. But these guys are focused on the portal builders. Their patron is kind of um, interested in um, uncovering the truth of the portal builders. There's a lot of mythos about the portal builders. Um, it's tied in to their core belief system with their nine icons, the nine gods, and so this patron of theirs is like, he thinks that maybe they're not related. Maybe the portal builders are not related to the gods, because I don't get the feeling um that he doesn't just believe in the gods at all. I think there's still that supreme belief in the icons, but I think the patron is like, I don't know if the portal builders were the icons, or that they're connected. And so they've got this kind of guerrilla internet show where they'll go out and try and debunk some of these things. So anyways, um, this initial intro scenario is kind of built on the premise that this uh, person who's like an archaeologist, but he specializes in archaeological artifacts and diggings and findings and historical stuff um, around the portals themselves. So he's like how we would call a person who specializes in Egyptian archaeology as an Egyptologist. Well, this guy is like a portalologist. He specializes in portal discoveries and things like that. And this guy's name is Zar Bagra. And um, Tsar Bagra had, and I guess he's Professor Bagra, Doctor Bagra. I don't know. It doesn't really say. Um, but he put together a team to research a recently discovered, or what they thought could be, a portal archaeological dig site. So he put a team together to go and do that, and has vanished. He's disappeared, and it's been a couple weeks since he's gone missing. And so now that's kind of raising some eyebrows. This guy Bagra had a reputation, had a name for himself and everything, and now he's just gone. So um, so because it was kind of focused around the portals and portal research, I thought that was a more in line with uh, the team's background, and so the scenario is written in a way that it's basically kind of like any opening for a D&D game, right? Characters are in a bar, and they just kind of get approached and like, hey, we need people who might do something possibly risky for some money. Do you guys want to do it? You look like adventurers. And I thought that was a really terrible opening. And so I did change it to where it was their patron who contacted the team, and so they were aboard their ship. They were in space. They were in the Koa system, which is where the Coriolis station is located as well. Coriolis is in orbit around Koa or Kua, and so their portal contacted them and said, "Hey, this guy Bagra's gone missing. Could be something interesting. There might be something here. Might be something that we want to investigate and tell people about." And because the scenario opens up where the way it's written, characters like in a bar and a messenger comes up and says, "Hey, why don't you go see this guy? He wants to hire some people to do a job." I twisted it a little bit and I said, "Hey, the the patron had already done some initial dirt digging, some deep research, and found out that this one uh, antiquities dealer had been a underwriter for the Bagra expedition, and it actually kind of looks like the patron had difficulty in finding this underwriter's name, so it seems like he was trying to kind of keep it on the DL. And so the patron said, "Why don't you go and talk to this guy? This what is his name? This Miraz or Mirez Alcon. Why don't you go talk to this guy Alcon and see what he knows? He was an underwriter. Kind of a almost a secret underwriter for the Spagra campaign. Maybe he knows something." So the characters were like, "Okay, all right, well, let's do that." So they figured out, that this Alcon has his base of operations aboard Coriolis. So they fly to Coriolis, they dock, and they start going around. So they find his shop or his storefront, and it's very high class and everything. And the characters, it's interesting because of the four characters, only one is really kind of presentable as kind of high class, and the others, especially our tank, is really kind of low class. And it was really an interesting scene because I kind of you need to talk to the guy, but I didn't want to make it too easy. So the receptionist calls for him. He's like, "Oh, well, hey." I don't, the guy comes out from the office and, "I don't have time for this." And, he's kind of like looking down on him, like, these people aren't my kind of clientele. So he's going to try and, brush him off or whatever. And then the tank, our soldier character, he's like, "I like jungle art. Do you have anything for jungle art?" And he's like accosting some of the other, hoity-toity, highfalutin patrons that are in the lobby, looking at the antiquities and art and everything. And so the Alcon, the proprietor, is like, stop bothering my patrons, because he's starting to drive some of them off, right? They're leaving without paying for anything or without buying anything. And then finally, one of the other characters smartly kind of name dropped Bagra, and that got Alcon super nervous, and he suddenly had a change of heart. Oh, I do have time to talk to you. So then he ushers him back into the office to get him away from all the other patrons who might actually spend money, and then also have an opportunity to have like a private conversation with them. So they talk to him, and he finally says, "Yeah, um, I did underwrite this thing, and by all rights, I was supposed to get first dibs on anything that came out of that, because I'm paying for this, right? I get the antiquities and I get to sell them. But apparently, the entire expedition went missing, and Alcon was like, I was assuming that it was just a lost investment, and oh well, that happens, right? It's business." And then he's like, "But I had heard one of Bagra's uh, team members, and Bagra worked with a lot of like graduate students, from the university that's aboard Coriolis. And so this like grad student character that he's been seen, all kind of saying, hey, this guy's been seen. Apparently, rumor has it that this guy has been seen aboard Coriolis, and that he's like trying to uh, sell an idol that he's got in his possessions. And by the descriptions of it, it sounds like it's this it's an idol that's one of the incarnations of the dancer, and the dancer is one of the gods in the Coriolis universe. They're one of the icons, and so um, and I'm assuming all of these gods have you know different ways that they can appear to humanity according to the scriptures and stuff that they have. So uh, one of these incarnations that the dancer can take is of a like a mad dancing monkey known as the shadow monkey, which is kind of cool, right? I like the name of that, the shadow monkey. And so this grad student is supposedly trying to shop around and sell this shadow monkey statue, and Alcon is torqued because he thinks it should just automatically be his since he underwrote the expedition. And so he's like, there's so many competitive people that are out there, and Alcon believes that there could be other parties seriously interested in getting this, and he doesn't know who he can trust. So it seems to him fortuitous that the crew of the Omaha has come to him because maybe we can help each other out. He says, "Why don't you find this grad student whose name is Lavin Tam? Find this grad student Tam, and find out does he have the statue, and if he does, you know, tell me. Let me know who where he is, where is the statue is. I will come immediately and get it, and then uh, and then we'll be good." He goes, and he's willing to pay the crew of Omaha $1,000, which money in this game is the currency is known as beer, which I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's either beer or buyer, but I think it's beer. And he says, I'll pay 1,000 beer," and he paid a 400 beer up front for any kind of incidentals that the team might incur in doing their investigation. And I came up with the 400 up front because there's 4 characters, and I figured 100 a character, 100 a head might be a good kind of upfront payment, and then so there's 600 waiting for the team upon completion of this. And so they undertook it. They said, "Okay, yeah, we'll see if we can find this grad student, see if we can find the statue, tell you about it, and then as a finder's fee." I was kind of, saying, "Hey, as a finder's fee, I'll give you this 1,000 beer, right?" But he gave him 400 up front. So then they took off, and according to Alcon and the scuttlebutt that he's been hearing, Tam had been seen in an area of Coriolis known as the Spice District, right? Spice area, which is kind of like a plaza, a spice plaza. And it's kind of a district where there's a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of street vendors, there's a lot of, the spice markets are all out there. There's like low income housing out there. There is a like a live animal market for buying and selling, and the slaughterhouse district and everything. That's all kind of in that area. And so one of the first things I did to kind of amp this up is the way the scenario is written is, characters go to the Spice Plaza and Bazaar, Spice Plaza and Bazaar, and the author of the scenario assumes that they'll just kind of start just asking people, "Hey, have you seen this guy? Have you seen this guy?" And it's supposed to all be like, "No, no, 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 don't see him, don't know him," all this other stuff, and uh, and then finally there's like a little lead or something that might get you somewhere. And I thought, maybe we can do something a little better here, or at least a little bit more interesting, add a little bit more depth. And so I kind of latched on to the thought about how there's also this animal market, the slaughterhouse district and all this stuff. And I thought maybe there's something there that can be done too. So I went to the chapter about they call it beasts and jinn, which is all the monsters, but there's also animals in that section. And so I was looking at some of the animals and what they can do, and I thought, okay, maybe I can create one. So I did. I created a an animal. I did a little bit of research online for like uh, Farsi naming and things like that, just to see what I could come up with to make it sound a little more authentic. And so blending a couple of different words, I came up with an animal that I'm calling a shitokusu, a shitokusu, which is kind of just a blend, a hybrid between a camel and an ostrich. Um, so it's a large flightless bird, um, but the feathering is really minimal on it, and it's really engineered for survival in arid areas, like camels, engineered for that. And so it's just got, it's tall, it's big, and it's good for being a pack animal, and it's good for being a food source if it needs to be, that kind of thing. And it has these super long legs, and they're super powerful. And so I had this encounter idea where when the characters get into the bazaar, and they do start kind of milling around, and they're like, well, maybe we can figure something out here and try and get a lead going. There happens to be a a merchant who's trying to shepherd a small herd of these camel birds and trying to get them through the Spice Plaza. And then as luck would have it, one of the street vendors nearby, who was running like a butane kind of hot plate kind of thing, that hose or something sprung a leak, and so there was a small explosion. Not that it didn't really hurt anybody, didn't you know it just damaged equipment, but it was a loud sound effect. It was a loud bang, which startles this cluster of animals, and they kind of burst out into chaos. Right, they just start running around with their big powerful legs, and so they have kicking damage that's capable, and then also trample damage that could also happen. And so we were able to have in session one just kind of a real short impromptu taste of combat. It was very low damage and kind of low key, but it gave us an opportunity to kind of test the waters as far as like figuring out initiative and how to use action points for the types of actions that are available in a combat situation, going through the motions of that. One character did get kind of beat up a bit. The birds were like kicking him, and one character, I think another character, was going to get trampled, but um, in fact he was being trampled, but because of he did spend a action point to like do a defensive roll, and he was wearing body armor. he was able to get through that encounter with 0 damage. So I did inflict some damage, but then he rolled enough armor uh, points to negate it, so it was a wash. Uh, so that was a lot of fun. And also, in Coriolis, the game master has a commodity known as darkness points. So kind of like the mystery of everything is kind of known as the dark between the stars. Sorry for the noise here, but I wanted to show you. I like, in even in my RPGs, I like to have uh, some physical components to kind of represent some things. And so I have these like really cool. They're all different as far as their scaling and everything. But I have these kind of really cool stones here. I don't even know what kind of stone this is, like if it's a soapstone or something, but they're blue and they're speckled with like a deep silver, or maybe it's a deep green, but it's a it's just a kind of a cool little stone. They come in these, I guess they break pretty evenly along their atoms, the carbon atoms or something. So that they all kind of come out in these basically rectangular shapes. And so I've got a little baggie full of these things, and so I use these as my dark side points, and so I'm because we're playing online, just very much like I'm talking to you here in this blog. And so I'll show the players. I'll like, okay, I'm starting my scenario out with 4 dark side points, and as characters can do things like they can uh, uh, the mechanic is called pray to the icon. So uh, it's basically getting a reroll, but every time someone prays to the icons, you are giving the game master another dark side point to use, right? So I was accumulating these things, and there's ways for the game master to spend dark side points to do a variety of different things. But I probably could have used one or two during this whole kerfuffle with these camel birds. Um, I didn't want to. I wasn't trying to like seriously injure any of the characters. I didn't want to put them, too far behind the 8 ball in being able to cope with, future things that are going to be happening in this scenario. So I was holding back. I didn't want to like overdo anything. And you know, we were just having a lot of fun. We were doing some role playing. There was a little bit of prep, and just a little bit of prep and getting ready for that session. So by the time uh, the 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 animal chaos got settled, um, we pretty much played for a couple hours. It was getting pretty late, so we went ahead and called the session there. But by the end of it, whereas I started with 4 of these dark side points, I had accumulated 4 more. I had a total of 8. I didn't spend any of them. And the way that we do it, we're pretty sure that this is correct, is on a per session basis. The game master's dark side points reset. So as when we next get together, I won't have 8. I'll be reset back down to 4, and that'll be my baseline for the next session. Uh, but the opposite will be true if I ever overspend or I heavily spend on my darkness points, and I get down to 1 or none, and we end the session like that. I won't be in that hole come the next session. Come the next session, it'll reset back to 4 and go on. And I think we're playing that right. I think every time you have a new um, story that you're playing, there's the the starting amount of darkness points that you'll have for each session of that story, so that in those sessions you can gain and lose them. But then as you end and restart new sessions, it'll reset. And also, the players earn experience points with every session, and so the way that this session ended with the four players, I think two of them ended up getting 2 experience points, and I think two of them got 3 experience points. So it was kind of cool. Oh, and the other kind of cool thing that happened in the session is not all of the characters are currently optimized for uh, being in a fight, be it a melee or some kind of firefight. They're not quite yet, optimized for that. And plus they weren't expecting the fight, right? They were going to the plaza. They were going to try and just do some snooping around. So I think maybe I caught them a little bit off guard with this whole, hey, uh, animals running wild kind of thing. But in the confusion that got startled up, a couple of the characters who had broken away from the fight just so that they wouldn't get hurt, because they didn't. I guess they didn't think that they were going to be able to do much about what was going on. They noticed that there was a robed and hooded, mysterious figure who was also wearing a strange helmet. So the gender and identity and anything about this character was completely mysterious, and they kind of noticed that this stranger seemed to be kind of following them or tracking them, and at one point, the stranger then noticed, like, oh my gosh, one of the people is looking right at me. Like they even though he was wearing a helmet, you could kind of tell due to the way the head was positioned that they were looking right at each other. And once the mysterious stranger realized, oh, I've been spotted, he kind of, and they're, the person's wearing this like full length, very voluptuous robe that's hooded and everything. It's very colorful. And he just kind of like, grabbed an edge of the robe and kind of, curled it around. And so there was just like this, whirlwind of cloth, ruffling about. And he kind of twisted and, kind of disappeared, into the crowd, just kind of wormed his way into the crowd and vanished, made an escape. But in doing so, because this, I did a. They don't have mobility in this, but I did, because mobility is a skill from the Alien role playing game by the same people and everything. But I'm trying to remember what skill did I do. I don't remember. But I did make it a. I did make it an opposed roll. So one of our characters was doing an observation test, and then I was doing another test um, in opposition to that, and um, I had a success, but I didn't have an overwhelming success. So I adjudicated that I was able to escape, but as a drawback from that escape, something else happened, and the PC, the character player, uh, since they had a successful observation as well, they noticed that my mysterious figure dropped a like a coin, some kind of charm or something that's coin sized and very coin like, right? Round, double sided, that kind of thing, made of metal. And so he went and got and picked up that coin, and he made a culture test to see if he could identify any of the markings on it, but was unsuccessful. And so once the rest of the group uh, assisted in quelling the animal, chaos that was going on, uh, the four players, got back together, and so the one with the coin said, "Hey, does anybody make anything out of this?" And so one of the other players was successful in making a culture test, and they were like, "Ooh, this is the icon, or the icons are what they call their gods, but so symbol. This is the symbol or logo or whatever for a group of people known as the Draconites, who are they're kind of like religious hitmen, or they're very zealous in their beliefs, and have a reputation for uh, using technology uh, to meet their needs and everything. So they're very technological focused, and I believe xenophobic, and zealots. And so this Draconite. So there's a Draconite that seems to be following them, which you know um, mysterious figure. They don't know what's going on, and because I think my players might listen to this, I'm not going to give away any spoilers per se yet. So everything that we just talked about um, all came out in the first session, so they know all this information already. But uh, it was super fun. It was super great. Had a really good time. Um, we foresee having a really good year, because for sure, I think for all of 2024, we're definitely going to be playing Coriolis, and it should be a whole lot of fun. And we'll see what we're feeling like a year from now. Maybe we continue with Coriolis. Maybe we try and do something new. Maybe go back to fantasy role play. Maybe do something else. Who knows? But anyways, yeah, kind of cool. Had a good time. Coriolis. It's a lot of fun. Um, I'll put together another blog after our next session. So thanks for listening. Y'all take care.